Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book podcast. My name is Eric Wilbenaw, the president of the Baseball Blue Book, and today we've got a special guest with us, Coach Justin Perry out of Albright College. Looking forward to talk to Coach today and learn a little bit about his journey and the Albright College baseball program. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing
Thank
great.
you again for having me.
Yeah, no problem. This has been, it's always my most my favorite part of what I do is getting the opportunity to talk to coaches and one I really like is when they're new to the program. And so, Coach, I know that you just took over Albright this year. And as we always do, we start with the coach's journey. But I'm really looking forward to kind of hearing what it was like for this year. We don't have to spend a lot of time with it initially, but kind of working up to that point. But before we begin, I want to encourage everyone to make sure that they subscribe to the channel. We are on YouTube under the Baseball Blue Book podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Baseball Blue Book. And we are everywhere. So I encourage everybody to download it, podcast channels. We're on Apple and iTunes, as also on Spotify. So, Coach Perry, let's begin with your journey.
All right. I grew up in smaller town in Western Massachusetts. Uh, Lucky to grow up and play, multiple sports as a kid all the way through high school. And I'm very fortunate that my dad was able to coach me in a lot of those sports. And then, um, things were different. I played Legion. Right? Legion for me was a big deal. And going into my senior year of high school, my dad was coaching the Legion team, and there was a change, and Westfield State University needed an assistant coach, and they reached out to my father. And so my senior year of high school, my dad got into coaching college, and it ended up being a great thing for me because after high school, I went on and I played football for 1 year and baseball for 4 years at Stonehill College in Easton, Massachusetts, under Coach Bowen. And I graduated in 2009, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And my dad was like, try coaching. I think you'd be good at getting into coaching. I think it would be good for you. And so I probably sent out, I don't know, 40 or 50 emails to like schools up in the New England area. And I was very fortunate at the time that Dave McNamara, who was the head coach at Anna Maria College in just outside of Worcester, Mass, was looking for an assistant. And so I was able to sign on with him, go through the fall. It was just him and I. And then, we had some great baseball guys join us for the spring. Chris Colabello and Alex Trezza, who were kicking around playing a lot of professional baseball, independent baseball, and it was a great learning experience. But after that year, kind of reevaluated some things, and there was another assistant job opened up at Westfield State. So I was able to spend some time coaching with my dad,
That's great.
which was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Getting to learn from him, but also to be able to build a different kind of relationship with my dad, which was fun. It was definitely different and learning curve for both of us. And then, I was getting to the point where, like, if I wanted to make this truly a career, I needed to, was getting to the point where, getting older, need full-time type benefits, salary, and was working with Nathan Bashaw, who's currently still the head coach at Westfield State, and he's an alum of Gettysburg College, and he pointed out that they were looking for a full-time assistant coach. And so I applied, and I was very fortunate that longtime coach, John Campo, thought enough of me to hire me in 2016, and was able to learn and under Coach Campo for 7 years, and he had a wide variety of knowledge coming. He started coaching football at Kings Point in the late '70s, early '80s, and then coached football and baseball at Gettysburg till early 2000s, and you know, it was just a great opportunity uh, to learn from him. And then I was very fortunate in July to apply and be fortunate enough to be picked as the next head coach here at Albright, in Reading, Pennsylvania. So it's been a it's been an interesting journey, but also a great one, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
That's great. That's great. One of the things I love hearing about with coaches' journeys is kind of the connections that everybody makes. And you talked about your dad. You talked about some people, kind of legends of the game in those areas, and just in collegiate baseball. You talked about the learning experience. Go into that a little bit more because one of the things that I think that parents and players really like to hear from coaches is, you know they're learning as well, right? They're hitting these new opportunities, and from the beginning, it's not what you know; it's kind of how you learn. So talk about taking those opportunities and turning them into what you did.
Well, it's you take the look at the way coaches, their style of play and what they're kind of looking for, and you have to be able to learn and understand. All right, if me as a coach, if I want to be more aggressive in certain area, am I going to be okay if I'm wrong, right? Like if I make that mistake, can I be okay with that? So you kind of, I've learned from some more aggressive coaches in terms of style, play, and like the offensive side of things. Um, and you got to realize, sometimes you're going to look like a genius, and then other times it's going to backfire. And if it backfires, are you okay with that? And this year being my first time really calling certain situations, at the end of the day, I think for the most part, I don't really second guess it. I might consider doing something different, but you kind of stay true to, as long as you're staying true to who you are and
Right.
your team understands that you're doing what you think is best for the team, then everything's going to be all right.
That's good.
Um, and then also being able to understand to learn, you know, what, yeah, you got to do what's best for the team and the program, but you also have to do what's best for each individual. And each individual responds differently and comes from different backgrounds. And, being able to, I was fortunate. I played for my father growing up a lot, and he was a fiery guy, and he got on us, and but my brother and I, we could handle that. But then now I look back at things, and he treated us differently than some of our other players because I think he knew how certain people would respond to things, and I think that's a big piece to this is, building that relationship to understand what works best for each individual while you're all still trying to, you know, row in the same direction as a team.
That's a great point. Such a great insight into really what is unique about baseball, right? It's this team sport that is very individualized. All sports have got the
Mhm.
individual players, but there's always the team aspect, and baseball is kind of different, right? It is a team, but every person is very specific in what they do. So I appreciate kind of that insight and being you talked about being confident in your decision, right? Can you live with your
Mhm.
your your decision at the end of the day? That kind of carries into a message for players, right? So kind of talk about how players can utilize that confidence and really making those decisions and then being comfortable with them afterwards, even if the outcome wasn't what you expected it to be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, our big thing is that I was trying to preach to to our guys this year is, to play fearless, play smart, but play fearless. You know, I understand, and I told them like, physical mistakes are going to happen, but if our intent and our thought process behind those was right, I'm not gonna have any issue with that. Um, because we all are gonna make mistakes, and I told them, anytime I made a mistake or had somebody got thrown out at home or steal and they got thrown out, but yes, just tell them, guys, that's on me. Like I sent them, I took the gamble, and so making sure they understand, like I'm holding myself accountable as well. Yes, I'm holding them accountable, but the same thing applies to myself and to our coaching staff. So
That's great. Coach, you seem pretty mellow kind of guy. Are you? Or is this
I am
you are? You're a mellow. Probably the flip side of what your dad was. Kind of
at times,
at
yeah,
time.
for sure.
At times.
I mean, I got my competitive streak, but it comes out every once in a while, and got to stick up for our team here and there, and
Oh,
so.
that's good.
Well,
It works. So talk about as a journey, and you look at some of those areas. You talked about Legion Ball, and it's one of the things that was great for me and your dad coaching there. What are a couple of things? And I compared you and your dad just with what you said, but what are some of the things throughout that journey from Legion Ball, having your dad coach? And then really the transition into being into a head coach now. What are some key things that in your life that you were really that you can look back at and go, that really made a difference in how I do things today?
For sure. I think uh, youth sports and playing, you know, for me, playing high school baseball and playing Legion baseball for like your town and your school, that was a big deal. And um, the amount of pride that you had when, you know, playing for to wear those school
Right.
colors was a big, big deal. And I was very fortunate that I grew up and we all played together. Like my group of like peers, high school, youth friends, like we played multiple sports together and we had all kinds of different relationships. And, except for a few here and there, our roles within those teams were always different, right? Like some of my best friends from home, they were probably better than me at football. They were better than me at basketball or baseball. Like we all had different roles, but we all were playing for one another. And, I think growing up in that eh, with under those circumstances, like the transition to college was, you know, pretty easy. Where it's like, all right, yeah, we all got to
Right.
compete. Got to earn our role on this team, but understand that, you know, it's the team first, and whatever the coach decides, your role is going to be for that you have earned.
Yep.
Like that's your role. Make the most out of your role. Um, I think that gets lost a little bit sometimes, and like trying to teach them that, there's a bigger picture than your individual stats or any of that sort of stuff. Like, you know, we want to have a great time and make the most of this because, like Coach Campbell always said, it comes to an end for everybody. We only, in the grand scheme of things, before COVID, you only really have 4 years to play college baseball.
Right.
Like, make the most of it. And that's something that I'm really trying to preach to our program and to the players is, let's have fun. Winning is fun, but there is a bigger picture to it, and it's about making lifelong friends and having these great experiences as well.
No, that's really great. Good insight in, and especially at different levels of baseball, right? I mean, there are fantastic players at every single level, and don't get me wrong, but there is something to be said about what the game is about, kind of the big picture, right? And we would be kidding ourselves if we thought every kid that we're bringing in was going to be major league talent, and there's a
Mhm.
different perspective of the game from that from them. But for you in Albright College, it's more about what? Tell me what really is the drive and what the message is for Coach Perry and Albright College for the players that are thinking about and looking at Albright, as well as the current players that you have.
Uh, Um, for us right now, we're in a unique situation where we are truly rebuilding. Um, so you know it takes a special person to understand, like, you know we're not gonna all of a sudden turn around and win 30 games and be a playoff team. Like this is gonna be a process where, like, for our seniors this past year, we were able to improve, um, win more games than they've won in the past, and so they were able to be like, all right, right now, I'm leaving this program in a better space spot than when it was a year from that, or 2 years or three when I first got here. Um, and build that into something that when they're 5, 10, 15 years out and they look back, they're like, I started that.
That's
Like,
that.
that's pretty cool.
That's great. That's great. And Coach, before we get into actually your program, I want to make sure everybody subscribes to the channel, Baseball Blue Book Podcast. Download the app. We're on Apple and iTunes, as well as Android devices. Find us on Twitter at BSBL Blue Book, or Instagram and Facebook at Baseball Blue Book. Today we are with Justin Perry, head coach of Albright College, and the second half of our conversation is really about the program. And so the transition was really talking about this being a rebuild. I'd love to get into that a little bit more, because you've got a group of kids that didn't sign up for that, right? They came in under a different leadership, probably a different philosophy. How were you able to kind of make that transition? What were some of the challenges that you had, and really, what are you looking for in this rebuild process?
Um, I'm excited about it because, it's a chance to kind of put my thumbprint on something kind of from scratch. You know, Coach Filer was here for as the head coach, was here for 24, 25 years, and he still works here within our department. So being able to also, lean on him for a lot of advice and things has been pretty awesome. And also be able to, what worked for him, what's worked for him within the institution,
Right.
to build um off of that, and find out like some of what their struggles were. But the biggest thing that we're just trying to accomplish right now is, understanding that it is going to be a process, and we have to outwork and come to practice, to the weight room, with the attitude of like, I just need to get 1% better today. I need to win the day. However it is, like whatever those tasks are, that's my goal, is just to get better today. And then if I'm getting better, the program and the team themselves, if all, like this year we had 26 players. If all 26 are getting better just by 1%, we're better today than we were yesterday. And we'll get
Right.
better tomorrow. So that's kind of just taking it day by day and understanding, like trying to get the most out of each of us individually, while, staying within the team concept of things.
That's great. So people are around Reading, PA. Obviously recruiting is a big thing. Season's kind of wrapping up
Hmm.
here for collegiate baseball, and so we're looking ahead and looking kind of what we've got, the pieces we have, the people that are graduating. What is your mindset, philosophy? The way that you're going to kind of handle things going from now, and again, and really this is all encompassing question, right? Type of kids that you're looking for, where are you looking, and we'll get into the program itself kind of after that, but let's talk about the kids. And you've talked about your philosophy of the process and kind of putting your thumbprint on things. Talk about what that means to the players that you're going to be looking for this year.
Yeah, obviously, going to high school games, high school playoff games, and then, when travel balls, starts up here, going to as many like tournament type games as we can. You know, let's be honest, it all starts with identifying talent first and foremost, right? Once you've identified some talent, then it's, getting into who are they as a person and building the relationship. Because again, it is an unique opportunity here where, I mean, everything's at their thumbprint, right? So they can look up Albright Lions baseball and see, like, all right, yeah, they've been struggling lately. We haven't won a lot of games. New coach, won a little bit more this year than we have in the
Yep.
past. You know, is that something you know, am I okay with not going to, a perennial regional type of team and coming to a place where I'm all right and I want to build something special and have a unique opportunity to really compete to earn playing time right away because of just the nature of where we're
Right.
at right now.
Right.
And some kids are all about that, and some they want to go to those winning type programs right away, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. Um, but then building those relationships and getting them here on campus and seeing kind of what the school has to offer as well as what we're trying to do here in baseball.
Yeah.
Um, but that's kind of, it's a hectic time. And me personally, I like to build it with the high school. Like, I want guys that want to be here for 4 years. Not that there's anything wrong with transfers or any of that sort of stuff,
Right.
but I think it's something to be said about having the opportunity to be here for four
Yeah.
years and build a relationship over 4 years opposed to 2 or 3 or things of that nature. But I also understand, like, I myself and our staff, we can't be everywhere. So if somebody genuinely expresses an interest in our institution and wants to be a part of this program, I'll give it. We have the unique. We have fall baseball, so right. We have 20 next year. We have 24 days, and we use those as, if you decide Albright is the right fit for you academically and socially, we'll give you the whole fall to compete and earn a spot within our program because again, we can't see everybody, and if I did see somebody and maybe that wasn't their best day,
Right.
right? Like, so I want as many high quality young men that want to be a part of this, and um, you know, we build that with competition and each person building friendships, but also understanding, like, I'm pushing you to get better and you're pushing me to get better, and I think that's really important.
This is great, Coach. You can really tell kind of the who you are. That's what I love about doing these things. Looking at records, reading profiles, you don't really get to know somebody, and I think this is really good. The type of people the type of player you're looking for. Really cares about their team, cares about the relationships, cares about kind of the tradition. If I was to kind of categorize what that was, and I think that's what I love about doing this, because some people, the first thing is winning, transfer, trying to find the best players. You're obviously looking for the best players, but there's a fit, right? There's a certain fit that you really
Mm-hmm.
are looking to build, and I really appreciate kind of your openness of that. Talk about Albright College. You mentioned, is this a good social fit? Is it a good academic fit? Give kind of a highlight of Albright College. What can they expect? What type of campus is it? A little
Yeah.
bit about the lifestyle and different things about it.
We're a smaller private liberal arts college. We have about 1,300 students. We're in Reading, Pennsylvania, which is a city, but our campus doesn't really have a city feel to it. We're kind of on the outskirts of the city. Um, you know, Great overall liberal arts type of an education. Smaller classes. Everybody seems to know everybody, so to
Yep.
speak. But it's also, an extremely diverse campus, which I think is awesome. And they understand you know, they make a big push to get first generation college students an opportunity to go on to college. In today's world of higher ed and the prices, we're on the lower scale of a private liberal arts college for price because we want to try to be affordable and if you truly want to come here, have the ability to come here, um, as well as participate. I played two sports in in college, and I was only for 1 year, but still, like you have that opportunity. You have the opportunity. We have pretty strong intramural programs, wide variety of clubs and organizations. So you can truly, in some ways, kind of do a lot of what you're passionate about while also getting a great education and being a varsity athlete at the same time.
That's great. Great. Reading, Pennsylvania. Great place. I lived in Pittsburgh, opposite side of the state, but Pennsylvania in general is a great place to be. A lot of rural kind of outdoors opportunities, even
Yep.
close to the cities, and so always
Yeah.
encourage people to take a look at the schools in those areas. So Albright, liberal arts, private university, dorm life is good. What the athletes are kind of, a lot of schools have private dorms for the athletes. Is that how it's kind of worked out? But you guys have different.
No, they're kind of mixed in
Okay.
with the regular student body.
Okay.
When you decide to come here, if you're a part of a sports team, you can request to live with like a teammate. But then we don't have like any kind of athletes only type dorms or any of that sort of stuff. So that's another unique piece to
Yep.
things where um and even still we have like your Greek system. It's not like this big thing, but there's no real fraternity sorority houses on campus. So everything's kind of like intertwined together, which is pretty cool and pretty unique.
Seems like a really good fit for
And
you. It seems like a real good fit for you, Coach.
yeah, I would have fit. I think I like this would have been a place, and that was another thing where it's like I could see myself being here as a student when I kind of got on campus in July, and I was seeing my first year here. Um, so that's another. It's kind of easier for me to kind of relate to the school, the institution. But I also think a big piece to the whole when I can do it is, when we have recruits on campus, I want our players to show them around and show their families around and let them answer any questions that they might have about what it's like to live
Yeah.
here, to be here. Because at the end of the day, and I'll tell this to any, they're the ones living it. I'm not. I only know kind of from the outside looking in, right? Like I've never lived in the dorm. I don't know. So like ask them and I tell our guys same thing. Like be upfront, be honest.
Yeah.
Don't give them your honest opinion on certain things and because that way there they can't say, well, he was a great used car salesman and told us how great this place is when like I can't. I gotta be
Right.
honest and say I don't know. And if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna do everything I can to find out that answer for you and for your
That's
families.
great. Coach, does the Albright, do you guys have a prospect camp, or is there any camps that you guys typically attend that players might be
Yeah.
able to show up to?
So we're gonna run a prospect camp in the fall.
Okay.
Typically we ran our first one last year in the fall in October. We did that when I was with Coach Campo at Gettysburg. We kind of held off into the fall, and just because there's too much stuff out there now for them to do in the summers, and
Right.
as the fall's kind of winding down for baseball for that season, that's kind of when I like to do ours. So last year was mid-October, so we're gonna do that. Um, I'll be at a handful of showcases this summer, and as well as like tournaments. I'll be at the big ones. I'm trying to think. Like I-95 runs through 2 or 3 events this summer where they're big, kind of national type showcases. But a lot of stuff will be more in the New England Mid Atlantic region, going to tournaments and Legion games when I can in our backyard and things like that.
That's great. That's great. Coach, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity to get to know you and look forward to kind of watching the growth of the program, the process that you're going to bringing these kids into. So thank you very much, Coach, and have a great summer.
Thanks, I appreciate it. You as well.
Thanks.